in the system that the new wife's name also ends with Hoshiran. He immediately connects the dots and realizes this woman must have sent Layla. If Calix, the son of the first wife, dies, the woman's son will inherit the title of Count. Strangely, the lunatic is breaking out in a cold sweat while feeling excited. As always, the game Heroes of Destiny starts off hard. He then tells Layla he's feeling much better now and thanks her. But he asks how his stepmother is doing. Layla looks surprised and says the Countess is very upset about the boy trying to take his own life. She pleads with him never to do something like that again. That's when Calix understands why this boy was bedridden and in such bad shape. Judging by the pain in his chest, this guy must have tried to end his own life. He says he won't do such things anymore and Layla replies that the Countess will surely be happy to hear that. He thanks her again and asks her to leave. But her expression changes and she says he still hasn't taken his medicine. Now he's scared. It seems the damn girl won't leave until he drinks it. The problem is, she's there to kill him and if he refuses, she might simply assassinate him outright. Even though he knows the game at this moment, he's just a fragile teenager. He could try yelling for help. What if she cuts him down before anyone arrives? He would definitely die before that happens. She's already turning back to him and he realizes he might not have a choice but to drink it. But then he asks himself the obvious question. Why is she poisoning him instead of just stabbing him and running away? If that's her plan, clearly she can't draw attention to herself. That poison is a way to make it look like he took his own life. It's the same poison that Farmer gave him 10 years ago and Layla says that if he's having trouble drinking it, she can help. But there's something Calix learned while playing this game. The worst will always happen, so it's best to be prepared. He's certain that even if he refuses, he'll force his mouth open and pour it in. The madman is blushing, saying this makes him really excited. Indeed, the game Heroes of Destiny never disappoints. Layla sits down and offers the tea once more. Suddenly, he grabs the poison tea and drinks it all. Layla simply watches as the effects of the poison finally kick in. As he expected, this was bound to happen. Now the question is, how will he get out of this crisis? There must be a person or an object to resolve this situation. That's when he remembers Russell mentioning having some high-tier potions in stock. He comes up with an idea and tells Layla to step outside and call for Russell. She asks why and he humiliates her, asking if he really has to explain himself to a mere servant. The girl is shocked and quickly apologizes. When Shotson orders for the leave and fetch Russell, she rushes out. Calix knows that the potion Russell used earlier could be traded for Castle. Yet the man didn't hesitate to use it on him. At the very least, he seems like someone who isn't trying to kill him. As soon as Layla leaves the room, he hits up and tries to vomit. But no matter how hard he tries, nothing happens. The game wasn't going to make things that easy. One thing was clear. There was always a solution to every problem. He begins searching through all the drawers, desperately looking for an answer. But the system mourns that his eyelids are growing heavy. As his consciousness fades, he continues searching, tossing books and rummaging for a solution. Until his eyes grow heavier, he collapses to the floor. He wonders if he'll restart the game from the beginning or truly die for real. That's when he sees something. Right in the middle of the shelves, there's a potion. His expression changes upon spotting it. He starts crawling, finally grabbing the bottle. But upon opening it and taking a sniff, it's not what he expected. It reeks terribly like rotten milk. And that's exactly what it is, spoiled goat milk. He remembers that in the game, yogurt was the antidote for this poison. But can spoiled milk really be considered yogurt? The system once again warns him that his vision is fading. He knows that after the third alert, he'll have only 1 minute left. He brings the drink to his mouth, vowing to get even with Layla. And then he drinks it before losing consciousness again. Sometime later, he wakes up with Russell asking if he's all right. As Alex opens his eyes, he has no idea if it's déjà vu or if the game reset. But Russell doesn't understand what he's talking about and points out something more pressing. He wants to know why the room is such a mess and why the boy was sleeping on the floor when he came in. Alex realizes the game didn't reset. He managed to survive. But that near-death experience is something he never wants to go through again. No matter what happens, he is determined to live. Now that this is settled, he needs to check the status of this man. He observes Russell and the system window appears. At the moment, Russell is the acting count of this land because the previous count died and hadn't chosen in a heir yet. Even though it's a temporary position, it's something that could help him. The man seems like a strict military type, so Calix believes he can be trusted. At least he was the one who saved him with that potion. Calix calls out to Russell, saying he has something to share. They talk for a while, and it seems Calix tells him everything about what's happening. But Russell says there's no evidence. Calix learns that the potion Russell used was standard protocol in this family. It was just following normal orders. Russell explains that to him, all heirs of the Shekian family are equal, and he is obliged to serve both sides. Calix then asks if Russell wants him to keep taking that medicine until he dies so everyone can claim the inheritance. But Russell questions if Calix really lost his memory. He should know that the Shekian family is in serious financial trouble. In fact, it's a blessing that the Delula family is helping them. He asks if the boy truly doesn't remember this or is just pretending. Calix realizes Russell won't act without concrete proof. At least he figures the woman who poisoned him must believe he's dead. He tells Russell to let it go, saying it's fine. However, he has a simple request. Russell notices something different in the boy's demeanor. For hours later, at Shekian Castle, someone moves across the rooftops. The figure stops atop one of the buildings, adjusting their face covering. The person observes the knights below. It appears to be Layla, who notices that security has been significantly increased. She glances at the wall, spots a tunnel, and the next scene she's inside the castle. Approaching a door, she sees there are no guards outside the room. She opens it, and inside she sees a body cover with a sheet. Still, she's not entirely sure if Calix is dead. At least she used a special poison, so he must have died painlessly. She takes a letter from her pocket and places it on the desk. She retrieves his seal from a drawer and stamps the letter. With everything in place, she only needs to leave safely. But suddenly, someone comes out behind her and places his sword to her neck. She instantly recognizes the voice, but the person says nothing, and she can only fear the blade slitting her throat. She pleads with him to wait and screams, claiming it's too late. Lord Calix is already dead, and now that Shekian family can only belong to the Grumbine family. Of course, it's Russell standing behind her, observing everything. She falls silent for a moment. Then she asks if he shouldn't just be a simple noble serving the Shekian family. But that's when the boy stands up and says it all went exactly as he expected. The foolish girl is startled, isn't she? Our guy says that the slow death poison is quite stimulating, but he finds it interesting how one noble family is trying to poison another. He's certain that if this came to light, it would turn into a complete mess. Suddenly, Layla crutches and pulls her arm out of Russell's grip. But as soon as she tries to turn away, he grabs her arm again. With a swift turn and a strike to the ribs, she stumbles, revealing her thighs. Calix knows that the difference between their skill levels is 3 stages. Clearly, she stands no chance. But Layla insists, and he has no physical evidence, so no one will believe him. However, Calix calmly replies that attempting to assassinate a noble is punishable by death, even if the assailant is a noble themselves. And his evidence is clearly right there on the desk. When it comes to witnesses, he points at her, saying there's one standing right in front of him. Suddenly, her expression changes and the poor girl begins to faint. She collapses to the floor, leaving him unsure of what just happened. Russell explains that she fainted. He places his hand over her body and observes a strange orb of mana. Our boy recognizes it as what's known as a mana hole. Russell explains that she likely doesn't know how to use any mana breathing techniques. She probably at the level of an elite soldier with good training. Russell, however, notices something odd. Calix doesn't seem impressed by this information, suggesting he already knew about it. He recalls the boy mentioning he had a simple request. Now Russell wants to know how much this kid already knows. Calix says that for now they need to imprison her because they have many favors to ask. Later, the devilish maid is tied to a chair. Her arm looks like as a pokeball inside it as he tosses a potion at her. Our girl even wipes her face clean. When she wakes up, she finds herself tied to the chair. Calix immediately mentions the slow death poison. Obviously, it kills within 3 to 6 hours. It's the ideal potion for anyone looking to end their own life. He speculates that if he died like that, everyone would think it was by his own choice. He grabs her face and asks why she did it. She feigns ignorance, pretending not to understand what he's talking about. But Calix says he's sure she was afraid of dying, which is why she acted the way she did. This means she doesn't have enough loyalty to lay down her life for